Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Second Star interview. I'm here with author JaNay Brownwood and illustrator Samara Hardy, excuse me, the team who brought you Amara's Farm, and now a little over a month old, Miguel's Community Garden. How are you both doing today?
Really well, thank you.
Good, good. Now, JaNay, you're visiting us virtually from California, right?
I am.
Oh, and that excites me because I'm actually a fellow California girl myself. So I'm happy to be joined with a fellow West Coaster.
Yay! The Cali girls, huh?
Yes,
through and through.
Through and through, absolutely. But you're up north, right?
I'm kind of mid. I'm in Sacramento.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, and I was down south from Thousand Oaks, California. So.
Oh, yeah, my husband went to school down there. Well, I did too, but he went to Cal Lutheran.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. I had so many friends who went to Cal Lutheran, so that's so cool. And then Samara, you're joining us from Brighton, right?
I am, yeah. Well, I've actually recently moved, so I'm now in a little village called Rotherfield. So it's a very tiny little quaint British village in the middle of the countryside. So it's
cool.
Yeah, it's really, really nice around here. So yeah, we moved a couple of months ago now. So yeah, it's been lovely, and we're in the process of renovating the house, so it's all a bit of a mess at the moment, but no, it's beautiful around here at the moment. It's, you know, springing and all the flowers are starting to come out, so no, it's lovely.
I'm jealous. I'm just gonna go visit Samara now real quick. I'll be right back.
It's a lovely place to sit and draw and just sort of sit in the garden and watch the rabbits, you know, hopping around and stuff. It's really cute.
That sounds idyllic.
Yeah, I mean, Brighton was lovely too. Obviously, that was, you know, by the sea, and you had the, you know, the beach and everything down there. But we just sort of wanted a bit of a change up. So yeah, we moved up here. So no, it's been brilliant.
Oh, well, congratulations on the move.
Thank you.
Well, while we're on the train of getting to know the two of you, a couple questions for our audience. JaNay, when was the moment you claimed I am a writer? And Samara, kind of same for you, of claiming the moment of I am an artist. And then to stick with the theme of our book here, what three main flowers would you two grow in a community garden? And have you ever hosted a garden party?
Ooh, okay. Do you want to go first, Samara, or do you want me to go first?
I don't mind. Yeah, no, I'll go first. I think probably the moment I thought, oh, I'm an artist was probably a couple of months after I graduated uni. I sort of, I think that was when I first got my first commission from Oxford University Press, my first sort of picture book. And I think getting that sort of contract through and, you know, going to those meetings and stuff, and I thought, oh, I'm actually, you know, I'm properly doing this now, because when you're at uni, it's sort of, you don't know how it's going to go after, you know, whether you're going to get any work or anything, because there's so much competition and there's so many other amazing artists out there. You just think, oh, you know, will it ever actually happen? And I think that, you know, was probably back in like 2014-ish. So I think probably then was my first sort of moment of, you know, oh, actually I've actually got to do this now, you know. So, no, quite a lot of pressure on that one, I think, because it was my first actual published work, and I was very nervous about starting it, because obviously at uni, you know, you just do your projects for them and, you know, it's fine, whereas an actual physical book where people are going to see it and, you know, you're actually presenting things to the world, basically, it was I think that was, you know, definitely a memorable moment for me, I think. So yeah. And the second question, was that the flowers? What, three flowers?
3 flowers you'd have in your own community garden.
I think my favourite flowers are peonies, so probably definitely those. I think they're just beautiful, like all the petals and stuff, and I've just recently bought some bulbs actually to put into the garden, so I think definitely put those in. Probably carnations as well. I really like carnations. I think, you know, there's so many lovely colours, and again, they're so pretty with the way they sort of come up, and, you know, the lovely ruffles and stuff on those, so they're lovely. And probably roses. I know it's probably quite a standard one, but I think because you get so many that smell lovely, don't you? There's so many different colours and smells and stuff, and I think we've got one growing out there at the moment that's just sort of just coming into bloom, and that smells absolutely beautiful. So I think definitely, you know, flowers that smell are always a winner in my book and make it smell nice. So yeah, no, I think those three. And have I ever hosted a garden party? I think I've had many parties in sort of when I was younger, sort of birthday parties, because my birthday's in July, so it's always been quite a good sort of time to have a nice little party in the garden and play lots of games and stuff like that. So yeah, and I think got lots of good memories of you know, childhoods in my parents' garden, sort of with family and friends, and yeah, just cooking lots of nice food and playing games and stuff like that. So yeah, that's yeah.
Love it. All right. Well, for me, I don't know if I even consider myself to be a writer now. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. What I will say is this. I always loved writing, even as a kid. When I was younger, I just wrote stories. I didn't like reading, so I wrote my own stories. I liked reading my own stories. So I would just write these stories, and I had teachers who were so very encouraging, family who were so very encouraging, to the point where this is a true story. I actually still have this, and I tell this story so much. So my sixth grade, she was my sixth grade teacher. It was like a combination class, so I had her for 2 years, and she knew that I loved to write. And for all of her outgoing sixth graders, when they're graduating from the sixth grade to middle school, the seventh grade, she would write predictions for her outgoing students. And no joke, the prediction she wrote for me as a sixth grader, about to be a seventh grader, was, "Best-selling author JaNay Brown has done it again." And she seriously made this prediction that I would be this best-selling author in the future. And I loved those predictions because they were often sort of facetious and fun, but built on something she knew about our interests or our personalities. So to be able to say that years later, you were right, you know? So I've always loved writing, but I think really considering myself an author, probably with the publication of Grandma's Tiny House, which was my second book, because Imani's Moon was my first book, and it was sort of like, okay, like, will this continue, and will I be a one-hit wonder? I don't know. I mean, just like what Samara was saying, it feels so uncertain. You just don't know what will happen. So I had this one, and it was doing really good. And then when Grandma's Tiny House came out, then it felt like, okay, I have another. I've got some other contracts. I think I'm doing this. And so just this year alone, 10 of my books are coming out. It's bananas. And for the next couple of years, I've got contracts and books coming out as well. So even like to this day, sometimes I'll sit back and be like, yeah, I think I'm a writer now. I can call myself that. Yeah. As far as favorite flowers, Samara already hit on two that I write off that yes and yes. So carnations, because they're so beautiful. And whenever I have a chance to put flowers up around my house, carnations are my go-to. And roses, you're right about the fragrance. We have, I think, 4 rose bushes in our front yard. And right now they are just blooming so beautifully and they smell so wonderful. So those two, but also pansies. I just love the way they look. They remind me of little faces, and I think that's why I like them. But I would also say irises and orchids too. Those are super beautiful as well. And then a garden party. Not a full out one, but I totally should. You know, like with hats and and maybe tea. Luckily, I have a 5-year-old and she's down for all of that. So maybe ask me again in a year and I'll say, I've had 15 garden parties with my 5-year-old now.
Well, I look forward to seeing the photos and hopefully videos of the 15 garden parties with your 5-year-old, and maybe invite her friends over and you can, I don't know, make it a story time garden party. Just a thought.
Kind of like at the end of Cooking with JaNay and Miguel, we do something similar with that.
Oh, I can't wait to watch that one. I'm so excited because I loved the Amara cooking video. That was just so sweet, and I just love the wholesome feel of watching a cooking video with like kids and stuff. They're just so sweet and cute, and they love cooking.
Yeah. And you know, the 2 children, it's my daughter Vivian and my nephew Malik. And they're kind of naturals. Miguel's community garden, when we were shooting that one, there are way more bloopers because my daughter is her name is Vivian, and that name fits perfectly because it just means like vibrancy and all of that. And that is her personality. And so she was saying stuff that was improv or off the cuff. And I was having the hardest time keeping this straight face because it was just so funny, some of the things she said. So I think you'll enjoy that one. I'll give you an example. This is totally a spoiler. When we were putting in the romaine lettuce and we all take a bite and, oh, it's crunchy. And she says, like a healthy chip. And that was totally her. Like that wasn't scripted.
Oh,
I was like, you're right.
It is a healthy chip. Oh, I love that so much. And I know the pumpkin molasses bread from Amara's farm is on your website, the video where you're cooking that. Is the Miguel one on your website yet, or is it about to be on your website?
It will be soon. Okay. So we just published it, or shared it publicly at the beginning of April.
Okay.
So it's still pretty new. But generally, if you Google Cooking with JaNay Miguels recipe, I think it pops up. But the plan is to get it on my website as soon as possible.
Okay, good. Yeah, good. Because I loved that video and I was like, where's the sunflower seed salad? I need to learn how to make it. So JaNay, would you mind giving a elevator pitch for Miguel's Community Garden? And I know it's the second in the Where in the Garden series, but why you chose Miguel as the second one and why sunflowers?
Yes. So Miguel's Community Garden, come along and follow Miguel through his community garden as he searches for his sunflowers. And he looks at lots of different produce. Is that a sunflower? It has this characteristic that's similar, but it has this thing that's different. Nope, that's not a sunflower. So will he find his sunflowers? You'll have to read the book to find out. Spoiler, he does find them. Anyway, as far as picking the character, so as an author, I consider myself an author educator, and as such, one of my missions is to make sure children, diverse children from all types of backgrounds, can find themselves in the books that they read because they deserve to find themselves captured in authentic ways. And I think that this series of books does that beautifully. And with Samara's illustrations and the family compositions and the racial ethnic backgrounds of the kids, the variety in the gardens, even Logan, who he's in a wheelchair. So we really tried to make sure we captured that diversity. And for Logan's story, he's in a greenhouse. And we really worked to try to make sure, I know Samara did with the illustrations and me doing some research, that the tools that he was using are sort of authentic types of tools someone who was in a wheelchair in a greenhouse would use. So that's what really went into picking these characters, wanting to make sure they were diverse and authentically diverse so children could find themselves in those characters. Let's see, you asked another question and it has slipped my mind.
Why a sunflower?
Sunflowers, sorry, sunflowers, because one, they're just beautiful. They're gorgeous. Like you can't help but have your spirit be lifted when you see these bright, beautiful flowers and, you know, the sun reflecting off of them. Also, I love sunflower seeds. I'm such a fan of sunflower seeds. So it was nice to be able to use those and then use the sunflowers in the recipes, because each of the recipes, of course, is tied to the main produce or the main, you know, plant that's being looked for, and then some of the other produce as well. So the sunflowers are included in that spinach salad. But I think that's why I picked sunflowers, because they're just so beautiful. And also I grew some sunflowers and they were huge. They got so gigantic to the point where they were starting to lean over. And I was like, oh my gosh. But again, just like that realistic experience with the sunflowers and just loving them and being uplifted by their beauty. So that's why I picked sunflowers.
Well, I thank you for choosing sunflowers, as they are my absolute favorite flowers, so I enjoyed it. Samara, what is the process for creating art for the picture books? Does JaNay tell you what she's envisioning, Or do you just kind of receive the story and draw some concept art to get the process going?
Yeah, so I think first of all, I'll receive the manuscript and I'll have a read through. My agent will send that through to me, and I'll have a read through, sort of ask any questions that I'm not sure about, and just you'll make sure that anything that JaNay or the publisher or whoever wants to be included, that I include that in the illustrations, and just have that conversation really. And then I'll start off by sort of doing some very quick sort of thumbnails just to sort of map out sort of different compositions and how it's going to lay out, and obviously the character as well, which is sort of the main sort of thing for each book, is having that distinct character for each one. And once that's sort of nailed down and the thumbnails have sort of been signed off, and any sort of amends to be made, I'll sort of go into sort of more detailed roughs and sort of map those out and just make sure that everyone's sort of happy with everything, and then into the final art, which for this set of books was a mix of using Procreate and Photoshop. And sort of normally, sort of in the past, I've done a lot of inky textures and watercolor splats and stuff like that, which I added into this as well, because I think the designer who initially contacted me about the book, she had seen some work I'd done at uni of these sort of recipe illustrations, and they had a lot of texture and a lot of detail in, and they really liked those, so they wanted to go down that sort of route. So just sort of trying to get lots of colour and vibrancy in the artwork, and just layering up lots of different tones and textures and stuff, just to sort of really make them sort of pop off the page as much as I could. And it's sort of just lots of textures really, and just sort of lots of bright colours and stuff, just to just try and make them stand out and sort of really do the produce justice, because it's such there's so many lovely colours and lines and stuff in each of the bits, and it's just sort of trying to get that across to the audience and just make sure it's all distinctive and you can easily tell what it is and make it true to life, but also sort of lovely and illustrated at the same time. So
Can I add something too? One of the things that is so dynamic about Samara's work is that, I don't know, just the life she captures in them. And then they really speak to, here, I'm wearing, this is a apron that we have printed with her end pages. And I mean, look at this, right? And I don't know if she's going to mention this, and I hope it's okay if I do, Samara. If you go on her website, she's got all of these different things. Like I was looking today, mugs and bags. I think there are bags on there too that have her drawings and her illustrations on them. So I know I'm going to be adding some to my housewares, because just her artwork is so beautiful, and it's just so dynamic. And I just had to say that.
No, and that's actually, it's so funny, because that was actually going to be my next question, is where to get the aprons, because I have become obsessed with these patterns. They're gorgeous. They're so gorgeous. And I realized when I was watching the pumpkin molasses video, I was like, that's the Mara Farm pattern. Like, where did you get the apron? And then I saw earlier that you were wearing this one, and I was like, okay, now it's official. I need to get those aprons. Where can I get them?
They are actually like, I don't know, the publisher, Peachtree Publishing, has a handful of them and is using them as like giveaways and things like that. So they're very, they're kind of hard to get. But if you reach out to me, I could probably help you out. I need an apron. Okay.
Thank you. I'll take either pattern, because I love both of them so much. And either one I'll be happy with.
wait till you see Logan and Lynn's too. Oh yeah. Again, Samara, don't tell her this, but like, she's amazing.
I know, I love it.
I absolutely love doing those end papers. That was one of my favorite. It's always my favorite part of any book, is doing the end papers, because it's just such a nice opportunity just to make like a really nice pattern. So
I want them as also like kitchen wallpaper. I'm obsessed with this pattern.
This one's Samara.
Yes. Oh, it's so beautiful.
So beautiful.
And I never thought I'd be one to be like, oh, vegetables and flowers. That is so beautiful. But I was like, I couldn't stop looking at it. I was like, oh, I need it.
Yeah.
So amazing job, Samara. Absolutely amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah, JaNay, quick question for you. Are the recipes your creation or are they family recipes?
They are my creation,
Oh,
you know.
nice.
I did some research and I was looking at different recipes, trying things out. I have to be honest, my family got so sick of of molasses pumpkin bread. They're like, again, because I would try these different, okay, I'm gonna do this, or now I'm gonna try that. So it was really me doing some research and trying different things, tweaking to get something that was like my own, you know, flavor and feel to it. And yeah, so, and you know, I actually really love baking. With my life, it's been bananas lately, so I haven't had a chance to do it as much, but I love baking. That's something that I've always loved doing too. So it was so cool to be able to add in this other passion with these books, like the pumpkin molasses bread and some of the other things. So yeah, they came from some research, some tweaking and playing to kind of create my own version of them.
Yeah. So without spoiling too much, I love how both Miguel's community garden and Amara's farm's endings center on a gathering of family and friends and food, which we all love food. But over the past couple of years, we haven't had many opportunities for gatherings like this, unfortunately. So did that play a part in creating an ending we all want to get back to and enjoy?
I would say no, right off, no. I think because when you really think about gardening, right, especially something like a community garden, so many hands are part of it, so much teamwork and cooperation. And then the things that are like the bounty can be shared because, I mean, so I have a lemon tree, for example, that has way too many lemons and I'm not going to eat all those lemons. So it makes sense to, you know, share my bounty with others. And I think that's kind of what really informed the idea of bringing all of them together, and then also having the spread so that kids can identify, right? We've just gone through all these different produce. Now, which ones do you see? That's the educator disguise learning part happening. So I would say, you know, these books were in the works before the pandemic. And the idea of having them all come together was there before, but I think because of the pandemic, it makes it that much more powerful because it's sort of this thing that we're hoping to get back to soon, where we can share a meal with each other, whether it's indoors or outdoors, a pet play date or whatever, because it's just such a wonderful thing to do with the ones that you love, right?
Very, very true. So we touched on, or JaNay, you touched on this a little bit, but I wanted to kind of bring it back around to it. So diversity in picture books is slowly growing. But besides creating books with diverse main characters, what other steps are you both taking to make sure there are these books out there for everyone, whether it's sharing other authors or even creating resources for people? And then what steps do you think everyone else should be taking to make sure there are more diverse books out there?
You want me to start with that one, or?
Yeah, no, you start with that one.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, it's again, it's such a big part of what I do. A couple things that I do to try to push this is I'm always advocating for it. I'm always talking about it. I give presentations to educators, to others about the importance of diversity. And matter of fact, you know, I have a PhD, and the research that I did was looking at the lack of diversity in children's books and how it might affect other things like academic outcomes or bias development. And so that's me trying to attack this from multiple angles. I also do a number of mentorships that center on people from diverse backgrounds, trying to help this entryway into the industry, because of course, the authenticity comes with lived experiences. So having more people with diverse backgrounds allows for that authenticity to be captured in stories. I also, in some of my roles as an educator, I help compile some lists with diverse books and share it with others, share it with students. So, I mean, I really am trying to do this from lots of different ways. But I will say also, just publishing, aside from me, publishing seems to be trying to do things around getting more diverse authors and illustrators, and even just publishing professionals, editors, and, you know, agents, that kind of thing. I've seen internships and these things like that are hoping to bring more diversity to the industry? I mean, because that's a big piece of how you get that authenticity.
Yeah, no, definitely, I agree. I think I've definitely noticed in the last sort of few years or so that there's definitely, I've, you know, visibly noticed a lot more sort of push for the diversity, which is absolutely brilliant, because I think people have become a lot more aware, haven't they, of how, you know, important that is. And I think from what JaNay said, it just shows how much more I can actually personally do as well, because at the moment all I can sort of do is, you know, in my work, just try and be as inclusive as possible, and, you know, make sure that kids are represented. And I think the few books that I'm working on at the moment as well, we're really pushing to have, you know, a really diverse set of children in those as well. So it's, yeah, I think it's so important, and there's definitely a lot more that we can all do. And I think through social media and stuff, definitely, because I mean, my social media hardly ever gets updated, so it's probably something that I should look into doing a bit more, and just sort of sharing these sort of stories with everyone. And no, I think it's definitely really important, and it's definitely something that in my work is become a lot more of a focus point as well, compared to the first sort of books I was used to be working on. So I think definitely now it's definitely more something that is important to include and, you know, be aware of.
Yeah, and Samara, I would say like the intentionality you capture in it too. Again, thinking about Logan and thinking about the research you had to do for those. So it's not even just capturing that diversity, but really trying to capture it in an, you know, that authentic way.
That's the thing, because you don't want to sort of you really want to sort of get to the actual, you know, the facts of things, and not just interpret it how you think that somebody like that would live. And you really need to be, you know, aware and conscious of sort of that, you know, a boy in a wheelchair, like what would he need? He'd need, you know, extra, you know, help with these tools and stuff, and like the ramps that we included as well. It's just sort of thinking about those things. And also I think it's definitely educated me as well personally, sort of working on these books, and, you know, different backgrounds and things like that of different children, and just, you know, it's helped me sort of be a lot more aware of that sort of thing as well, which I, you know, might not have been previously. So no, it's been a really, really good, you know, series to work on in that respect.
Yeah, I hear you saying like perspective. Your perspective has expanded because you have that opportunity to now like dig in deep and make sure you're trying to capture it as authentically as you can.
No, definitely.
And just so for people who haven't had a chance to read it yet, I just wanted to take a second to point out this is Logan, and he's the one that's been mentioned a few times, so I'm so excited. And you said it's called Logan's Greenhouse, right? Is the next one. And then this is Lynn down here. Do we have a title yet for Lynn's?
We do. Can we share it?
Oh, if not, that's okay. But I was just
it's hard to know whether or not we can.
Don't know. I don't want to get told off.
Well, then we'll just, and here was, I'll skip it then. Here was Miguel over here, and then here was Amara up here. Ooh, kind of glare there, sorry. Amara, they're from Amara's farm. So
yes.
Yeah, so we're so excited for the last, I'm guessing the last two in the series then, huh? All right, well, last question before I let you two go. If you had a time machine and could give your younger selves one picture book from today's selection, and it's okay if you choose your own books, but which would you choose to give to your younger self?
Ooh. There is this picture book called Afia by James Barry, and it has just spoken to me at such a deep level. So it's about this little Black girl who she wears this white dress. I don't know if you've seen this one, but she wears this white dress, and she'll go out into the world, and basically like the world and the experiences make imprints on her dress into like these beautiful prints. So say she'll go to the zoo and visit the tigers, and then now there's like tiger stripes on it. And I don't know, that book really resonated to me. So I would actually give little JaNay 2 books. I would give her Imani's Moon, and then I would give her Afia.
I think for me, I think there's a book called, I think it's called Jeremy Worried About the Wind, and I think it's illustrated by Kate Hindley. I think That's what it's called off the top of my head, but it's just about a boy and sort of overcoming his worries and his fears about various things. I think as a child, I used to be quite an anxious child, so I think something like that would have sort of really helped me sort of, you know, not worry too much about things. And yeah, no, and the illustrations as well are beautiful. I think all Kate Hindley's, I'm such a big fan of her work, so I think, you know, just yeah, no, I think that one probably. And obviously the Where in the Garden series.
I was just going to say the same thing, Samara. And then all of the Where in the Garden titles.
Obviously.
Well, JaNay and Samara, thank you so much for joining us today. And anytime you are in Denver, please, please, please stop by Second Star to the Right Books. We'd absolutely love to see you in person and maybe sneak you in for an in-person story time and share the rest of the Where in the Garden series. And I can't wait to see Logan's and Lynn's books, whatever Lynn's secret title is. But thank you both so much.
Thank you. And yeah, we're going to have to make it happen. It might be easier for me to get out to Denver, but we'll have to make that happen.
Not sure when I'll be able to pop over to America, but hopefully one day.
Well, you're welcome anytime.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Second Star to the Right Books does currently have Miguel's Community Garden as well as Amara's Farm. So stop by and pick up the book, and we'll have an activity book as well of learning how to draw a sunflower from Samara. So thank you so much.
And also, just to say one last thing, you could totally follow us. We're both on Twitter, Instagram. You can follow me, Samara. I'm not sure if you're on Facebook, but I'm on Facebook, JaNay Brownwood, author and educator. You can totally follow us. And who knows, there might be some apron giveaways coming up soon. I don't know, maybe.
I'm going to be signing up for that apron giveaway in a heartbeat. You're just going to see my name over and over and over again. All right, well, thank you both so much. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and stop our recording now, if it lets me. There we go.